Hello, Javier.
Hey, good morning, Aiden, right?
Yes, it is.
Um, we'll give people a minute or so, but I believe you found our document. Let's go ahead and create an area for us here.
Ah, cool. Yes, yeah, yeah.
All right, there you go. If you don't mind signing in the document. All right, and I think Sam said he was going to be out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking his place today, Sam?
Uh,
Sam?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just started working with Sam's team this week, so I'll be hopefully helping him with a lot of this stuff,
Nice, nice.
which is quite exciting. I see that stale issues link is 404ing for me. Uh,
All right, let's go ahead and fix that. It seems like some people, we switch Zoom rooms, so it might be that some people are going to different rooms. So let me try to address that real quick.
I can see it if I'm logged into GitHub, just not if I'm.
Oh, really? Okay. Should be
Yeah.
public. It's weird. All right. Yeah, it seems like a couple people are in the other room. Let me see if I can get them back or get them into this room.
Cool, cool.
Hey, folks. Thanks for the redirect there.
Good
Was
morning.
anybody else with you on the other in the other room?
Nope, just me.
All right, awesome. Yeah, confusion. Apologies.
No worries. I got to update our team calendar, which took me almost a week to get access to. So now I can change it with the new link.
Yeah, yeah. That was always really strange for me. I just went ahead and used the ICS files that were on the website. But yeah, everybody's different. All right, cool. So let's see. yeah, we have a document. Please go ahead and sign into that. Yeah, we can kind of maybe jump in real quick on status updates. From the learning side of things, we do have a mentee that's working on the features comparison page. And as part of that, she's looking at some tools that Buildpacks compares to and kind of diving a little bit deeper into exactly like how to better express that or display that on our features website or webpage. Um, some of the like kind of fallout from that is all positive. Um, Basically, we want to have an area within the docs itself that elaborate on those features, right? So when we talk about bill of materials, what does that really mean? What's its value? That sort of stuff, right? Reproducibility and so forth. So it kind of brings a section for people to actually look at the features in more detail. The other thing that she's doing is she's creating a set of blog posts that we're trying to run by Joe, but basically a blog post per comparison. So we'll obviously do the build packs versus Docker files, kind of dive deep into that as a blog post, something that we can present outward. Then S2I is another big one, but then from there we go into like Co and sorry, Jib, and then one last blog post that basically says these are all the things that aren't really comparable, right? So things like Conoco and Builda and stuff like that. Apologies. So as far as I'm aware, that's the majority of the stuff that's kind of happening there. Other than that, we're preparing for KubeCon. Sam and I recorded the talk. We've already submitted it. There'll be slide deck attached to the, what is it called? The schedule, so people could download the slides. And then other than that, it's just really waiting for the event. We'll do a live Q&A there. And then I'll actually be on location for a booth that we'll have there. So I'm not sure what the number of attendees will be, but we will have some presence there.
Cool.
All right. Any updates from any of you all in regards to the project, stuff like that?
No, but if you had some kind of issue that I could point me at getting started with, I'm quite happy to contribute.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look and just ping you on something, see if it's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, I think my, still reading up and ramping up a bit, and like I had that question about the meta build pack versus build pack group, that kind of thing. As I continue to ramp up, I'll kind of keep an eye out for ways of improving that experience. Just having a fresh set of eyes going through it, like, hey, this is kind of confusing. Maybe we can clean that up. So definitely will try and contribute where I can as I'm ramping up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be very valuable. It's always really nice to have that, fresh set of eyes, that perspective. Let's see. All right, so I think if we're done with that, we can look at through some of the issues that we have here. So part of, I believe both of you all are somewhat new to these meetings, but one of the things that we do try to do as part of these is like actually go through some of the items that might be lingering behind. And so we do have some still issues or discussions we probably want to go through. I'm just not sure if the link is actually accurate, but I'll share my screen real quick and we could go through some of those. So is this sorted? I updated. Should be the other way. Oh yeah, that's 2020. Cool, okay. So stale issues. So using an HTTP proxy during build. I don't know what to say other than we should get this done, but nobody has done it.
So the feature exists, it's just not documented.
Yes, and it exists basically through Docker's own kind of existence here. So there's HTTP proxy and there's environment variables. Yeah, these environment variables, they could pretty much very well set. I guess part of me, like I know that this came up through somebody asking a question, right? And we said, oh yeah, like we should document that because people may not be aware that essentially the same configuration that you would use for Docker is the same sort of configuration that you would use for Pack. The only thing that comes to my mind right now is that it hasn't been a reoccurring theme or question. So like it begs the question of its value to some degree, right? So I'm not entirely sure how to proceed on this one. Other than if anybody feels like picking it up, obviously they can.
Yeah, it sounds like it's all pretty standard HTTP proxy stuff. Nothing really specific to Pack or to the CLI, right? Just the standard environment variables.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll do a good first issue label to that at least, and then that way people could kind of be aware that it exists and maybe attracted to it as they come in. Aiden, if you're interested, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's not the most lucrative one, I'm sure, but yeah.
That's fine because then it's lower risk. So if you want to assign it to me, Javier, then I'll see what I can do.
I think I could only assign it once you comment on it.
Okay, yes, that would make sense.
So typically we'll try to go through 5 of these at least. Next one is cache image build option. All right, so add documentation for cache image. Feature was added here. This is a platform team type thing. This puts me in a weird position because I'm actually part of the platform team as well. But one of the ways that the learning team works is that we more or less kind of simply facilitate the function of being able to provide documentation, but it's not up to the learning team to create all the documentation. So one of the things you'll see is we have these like team labels. So it's really the platform team's responsibility to create these documentations. Same thing for document launcher and stuff like that. So I would maybe bring this up with the platform team to kind of go through some of their documentation stories and do that. Again, awkward state because that's kind of me as well, but we could take it into a different sub team. I'm going to add that as a note here. Cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and skip all of those and just really move on to anything that has the learning team. All right, so blah, blah, blah. This seems more of a platform team concern as well. Go ahead and change that. Yeah.
Is that blocked label necessary anymore if the PR was merged?
Let's see. Nope, you are right. It is not. Okay, and this came out a couple versions ago, so we should be good. All right, next one. All right, so this has two teams. There's Project Tom will document the builder key. Is that actually part of the spec now? Take a look. So I know that we're working on the project descriptor 02. So I'm just going to check if it's on 01 already. Nope, it doesn't look like it. So that would be blocked by the next version. What are the milestones? So this would be blocked. All right, how many? That was 3 that we've done thus far, right? That one's blocked as well, same reason. That one's ready. Okay. So I'll give a little bit of history on this. So if you go to our website, we actually ended up putting analytics into our website. And we have basically this, what is it called? It's a data studio, Google Data Studio dashboard. And so we have a decent amount of information here. But one of the things that I believe we wanted to add as part of this is what people are searching for when they go to the Docs website. If you go to Docs, right, you can search in for whatever, like let's say bill of materials. Oh, what the heck? Is that? That's C index. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay, we gotta fix that. That's a bug. All right. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of the story here, is to be able to know what people will search for when they go to the search function. And kind of the reason for that was, and maybe it's worth elaborating here, is wanting to know whether or not there's some documentation that people are really asking for that we don't actually have, right? So it's more data points. Cool, so that's ready. I would say the only downside to this is because it does require access to essentially our analytics platform and the data studio. It would have to kind of be a contributor that has access to it. But yeah, once we get there. So this isn't a good first issue, is really what I was trying to make mention of that. I guess the only other thing for us to do is put in a new issue for this bug here. And you don't have to watch me create this issue. I'll just keep this open. All right, I think that takes us to 5 issues that we've at least triaged. We can go back over here, look at any PRs that we might have. Is this accurate? Oh yeah, it has multiple repos. Okay, sorted by. All right, so this one, few typos. I think really my only tiny bit that I wanted to verify was the frame border. And so I'll assign it to myself and get that in ASAP. "18 days ago, that doesn't seem stale to me. All right, these should all be easy to take on. And this one is approved. I mean, if Sam approved it, I'm good. See, yeah, we don't actually do this. All right. Something like that. Cool. I think that takes us through most of the stale issues. And it doesn't look like we have anything that doesn't have a team associated to it. Going back to the idea that things have an owner. And so I do apologize for that being, the hard part of this meeting. I maybe probably should have asked beforehand, but is there anything else that anybody wants to discuss as part of this?
No, I've got nothing to bring up today. Thank you, Javier.
Cool. All right. So we'll work through some of this, and hopefully these meetings will get a little bit less mundane as far as working through the issues. I'll go through and fix up some of that stuff. Cool. All right. Well, appreciate all you being here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.